After an almost unanimous city council vote in August, Los Angeles joined a number of other U.S. cities and states in renaming the Columbus Day holiday. The change is meant to recognize Native communities who were in the Americas long before Christopher Columbus discovered the continent, and to avoid honoring Columbus' legacy, which included enslaving and killing countless indigenous people. And some other U.S. cities like Denver, Seattle, and recently, Austin and Salt Lake City, as well as states like Vermont and Hawaii, will also be celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. But the decision is particularly notable in Los Angeles, as it is the U.S. city with the second largest percentage of Native Americans after New York City. While the name change won't officially take effect until 2019, many Native Americans are already celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day in Los Angeles this October 9. HuffPost spoke to 5 young Native Americans about what the city's first Indigenous Peoples Day means to them. Here's what they said. Interviews have been edited for length and clarity. Martin, 28, identifies as Native, of the Fernandino-Tavium Band of Mission Indians. This coming weekend, he'll dance at an Indigenous Peoples Day festival that his tribe is co-hosting in San Fernando Recreation Park. Before, I hated the day, because it was Columbus Day, and I tried not to celebrate it. Now that it's Indigenous Peoples Day, it's one to be proud of and celebrate. The truth is, Indigenous people were here first, and they shouldn't honor something that was an attempted genocide. I'm hoping it sets an example. Maybe it will open other cities, states to open their eyes, to make the switch. I don't see why it would be so hard. It is the right thing to do. Kilpatrick, 16, is a junior at Sammy Haas Community Schools who identifies as Afro-Mexica, of one of the indigenous tribes of Mexico. Kilpatrick performed traditional Native dances at City Hall on the day of the vote in August. The establishment of Indigenous Peoples Day is recognizing the trauma people of color have suffered, bringing others to question their knowledge, what people have taught them. I was there that day at City Hall with our school. As a danzante, my role was important because my ancestors couldn't practice their traditions and beliefs, so singing in native languages made me proud of fighting for recognition of Indigenous peoples. I hope it will spark others to want to get to know themselves. A lot of people have Indigenous connections to the land. I hope the name change will cause people to look for who they are. It's not just a switch in the day, it's a kind of correction, to switch Columbus Day and celebrate Indigenous people, and put them into the narrative. At City Hall, we had opposition from the Italian community who wanted to keep Columbus Day. I didn't even think about that. It actually made me understand that every community is fighting for different things, and to make their history more present and mainstream. LA is a huge city, but still. Hopefully one day before my kids are older, it changes to Indigenous Peoples Day on a federal level and we actually see it on our calendars. It's a lot of work still. Carrillo, 16, is a junior at Sammy Haas Community Schools in Los Angeles and identifies as Mexica, one of the indigenous tribes of Mexico. Last year in our school running club, about 10 of us participated in a run from our school to City Hall, where a few of us spoke on why Columbus Day should be abolished and replaced. For me, this day represented the genocide of millions of people and hundreds of cultures and languages. I felt relief to know that now some indigenous people of the Americas can finally live in a place where they're not surrounded by people celebrating a man who created the genocide of their ancestors. I want this day to be spread across not just the country, but all of the Americas. Ortega, 16, is a student at John F. Kennedy High School who identifies as Native, of the Fernandino-Tavium Band of Mission Indians. After the change to Indigenous Peoples Day, I know some people were looking into it and were surprised, and were actually interested and understood it better. When I say I'm Native American, I get shocked faces. The change to Indigenous Peoples Day is a good thing because people know that we're still out here. There are Indigenous people, we should be heard.